So, you want to build an all-wheel drive Mk1 Golf. Let me just put you down. We're gonna start from the front of the car and in this video, and then take another video for the rear. Can I put you down here without you falling? You have an engine you want to use, you have a gearbox you want to use, and most probably you will use some kind of engine which already have the adapters made, like you can buy it from some fabrication company like the 180, I don't know, G60, VR6, whatever. So I will recommend that you use adapters because it's gonna make your life so much more easy. You can of course go with this type, the Mark IV, Mk1, Audi S3 type, Audi TT first generation type of engine mounts like I have done. The only reason I did it is because the previous owners of this car cut away the original mount which sits somewhere below here. Instead I wanted to try it just because I think it looks a bit cool and I wanted to try something. If I had the OEM engine mount I would have used it because it's much easier. So you take your engine and your gearbox, you put it in the car, and then you will realize the steering rack is perfectly in the way of where the drive shaft to the rear diff is going to be. You will need to move the steering rack out of the way. Most people move the steering rack down about 3 centimeters. This will make enough room for the drive shaft to go to the rear. So then you will move the steering rack. And the steering rack arms, I'm just going to call it steering rack arms because I will not go and search for the translation. The steering rack arm will kind of point upwards because it's hitting the frame of the car. So what you need to do is you need to cut away the material on the car. To make enough room for the steering rack arm to have clearance, like I've done. So you cut away the material and you weld in new. Now you realize that you have fucked up your geometry of the front suspension since the steering rack is now lower than the OEM one is. And you also realize that the steering rack arm from the Mk1's wheel housing, like the arm on the Mk1 wheel housing, where you connect the steering rack arm is not fitting properly, since this is so this is when you use the Mk2 G60. You can use all Mk2 I think, but the G60 wheel housing is the one you should go for. If you use the G60 Mk2, then wheel housing, then you will be able to run bigger brakes and also bigger joints for the CV axle to handle more power. On the Mk2 wheel housing, this arm where you connect the steering rack arm to is about 3 centimeters lower. So now you have unfucked your geometry suspension. Also, you can probably read this online, if you want to use the Mk2 and I guess also Mk3 wheel housing, at least this goes for Mk2, where you connect your coilovers is on the Mk2, they are 26 millimeters wide. And the Mk1 is 20 millimeters wide, so you need to machine this. You need to machine it down 6 millimeters to be able to fit if you want to use the Mk1 suspension. So I will go deeper in what you have to do with the tunnel of this car and the rear of the car in another part. Till next time, have a good one, bye.